Being great at sales is essential to your business and your career, but you and I both know that the stress of selling and dealing with constant rejection can be an emotional drain. My entire brand, No BS Selling, is based on the belief that professional sales is a skill and not a personality, and that to be better at sales takes constant refinement and a dedication to your craft. This show is for salespeople and entrepreneurs who are committed to improving their sales skills and getting better results, and are sick and tired of the BS game that often happens between buyers and sellers. Welcome to the No BS Sales Podcast, and I'm your host, Walker McKay. I'll help you and your sales team make selling easier, feel less cheesy, and be more lucrative. It's time to change the rules and level the playing field between you and the people you sell to. You're already good, let's be better. Welcome to the No BS Sales Podcast, and I'm your host, Walker McKay. I have a really, really cool guest today. His name is Justin Wise. Justin is the founder of a company called Think Digital, which is a digital marketing agency brand. It's a digital marketing agency based in Iowa. Goodness gracious, can't find my tongue today. I found him randomly. The reason I brought him on the show is he has this concept called digital ecosystem, which is how to market your business over the entire digital spectrum. And I saw him online, I saw his stuff, and I immediately was like, this is really, really good. And I got on his newsletter list, and it's amazing. He writes a newsletter every single day, and every single one of his things, I've been on the list for about a month now, every single one speaks directly to me and what I'm dealing with and what I need to do. And this guy is a master at what he does, and I've decided to hire him for my business. And so because of that, I want to have him on the show. I want you guys to learn more about what Justin knows, and I'm going to know. Justin Wise, welcome to the No BS Sales Podcast.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Justin, tell us about you have this concept called a digital ecosystem. What does that mean?
You know, the easiest way to describe it is think of it like a garden, okay? I'm not a huge gardener, my wife is, but I watch her, and I know enough about, vegetation to know how it works.
Yeah.
Just like most people, okay, when you plant something, you want it to grow. And, for a seed to grow, number one, you need the seed. Number two, you need the soil. Number three, you need water. Number four, you need sunlight. And number five, you need, depending on which way you want to look at it, you need a lack of weeds or a hospitable growing environment. Okay?
Yes.
And so if you take any one of those elements out, sure, the seed may grow eventually, but the chances of it growing to its full potential are slim to none if you take any one of those single elements out. So if you don't water it, if you don't have enough sunshine, if you don't have the right soil, if you don't keep the soil nutrient dense and free of weeds, it's going to impact your seed. And I think the digital ecosystem is the exact same way as it pertains to our business. In this analogy, our business is the seed. And we need to be incorporating all these different elements into our business for our seed to grow. So we need water or, social media content. We need sunlight, which is paid traffic. We need, I forgot which one I said already, but we need these elements, email marketing. How about
some sunshine? Yeah.
And we need some sunshine in there. Got to throw some sunshine for this to work effectively. And so the digital ecosystem is building that, that system around your business, around the seed, so it can grow no matter the condition. And that's really what I do. It's what I love doing. It's what you and I will work on, and building out that digital ecosystem. So you're not just so focused on one element. You can't just water. I see so many people trying to fix their business with paid traffic. I mean, that's what we do in our agency. We run paid traffic for people. But if you just do paid traffic, you're missing out on all the different growth elements that can really make your business and pull it into its full potential.
How long have you been doing this?
I have been working on these concepts for the better part of a decade, over a decade now.
You've got an interesting story because you didn't start off as I don't know. I mean, your first career was not that of digital marketer. Tell us about your first career and how you transitioned, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I started out, I was a pastor for many, many years of a very large Lutheran church here in Des Moines. It's actually what brought us to Des Moines, I should say kept us in Des Moines. I grew up here, but after college, I moved back to be a Lutheran pastor, and that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I went to seminary and graduated and got to the dotted line, so to speak, was about to sign the dotted line and sign my life away. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't pull myself to do it. And at the time I didn't know why. I just knew, hey, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I can't do this.
Was it an all of a sudden thing that came over you? I mean, we all make these life decisions. I'm just curious, or was it something you've been building and then all of a sudden came out?
Yeah, it was, I look back on it now, it was definitely a series of significant incidents that I didn't know it at the time, but it was like, a leak springing in a dam. You don't notice the first leak, you don't notice the second or the third, but by the 10th or the 20th, the dam breaks. And that's what happened in my case.
Yeah.
And I would say the final leak was the birth of my first son, Finn, who was born in 2009. And I realized you don't get it. You don't become a pastor to make money. It's not why you do it.
Yep.
But I realized that, if we wanted my wife to stay at home, at least with the first child, and we knew, hey, making $30,000 a year, because that was my salary at the time, that's not you can't do that. It's not possible. And so that
hard to have a side hustle as a Lutheran pastor too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that actually was part of the issue, because I started doing this ecosystem stuff even back then, because at the time, that's what I was doing for my church. I was building websites. I was getting us on social media back in the day, 2009. Hardly anybody was using social really back in the day, certainly not for business purposes. And virtually no churches were doing it. And I just had this drive to get our church in that sphere.
How did you begin? How'd your attention, what drew you to the digital marketing stuff in the first place? I know you wanted to get your church there, but you must have been lit up by something.
Yeah, I trace it back to as far back as I can remember, back to high school. Even 14 years old, I stepped into Valley High School in Des Moines, Iowa, and our high school had a radio station. And this was back in 1994. So it was a real radio station. They let students run it, which to this day, I can't figure out why they would ever do that. Because it was real. You could go on the air and it would go out throughout the city. It wasn't just some, fake phony radio station. This was a real operating radio station. And so I wasn't an athlete, and I wasn't quite on the other end of the spectrum of total nerd. I was kind of somewhere in between. And I just fell in love with radio. And so I did radio all 4 years, and that kind of moved into the digital area when I got into college. And then I just really loved the idea of connecting with people through a medium. You could say something into a microphone, much like we're doing here on the podcast. You can speak into a microphone. That message, through various ways and means, is dispersed to, in my case, back in the radio station days, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100 million people. And I was just really transfixed by this idea. And that, of course, is the exact same thing that we're doing with digital marketing. Same thing.
And so what was the your first step towards the digital ecosystem? You said you started building websites and using, what kind of social media was around 10 years ago? I don't even know. I know Twitter was around, right?
Yeah, Twitter was my first love. Twitter still is my first love, because I had Twitter back in 2007. That's when I signed on.
Yep.
Which hardly anybody was using Twitter back in 2007.
That's with all the ats and all that other stuff. It was a whole different language. I loved it because it was so cool.
Yeah, it was a totally different platform than it is now. The general concept has remained the same, but I started experimenting with Twitter and then very quickly moved into email marketing. And that's really, that 1-2 punch carried me for a long, long time.
So there
Uh,
is I'm watching, and I don't know as much about email marketing, and I know you're going to help me with that, but there is a real science to connecting with people, because I know I probably get 200 or 300 emails a day. A lot of them, I've got automatic filters to get them out of my inbox. But there's a way that you're doing emails that actually speak to people. I mean, how many people on your email list? How many people on your email list? Can you share?
yeah, we just passed 25,000
So
ish.
25,000 emails. It goes out every flipping day
Yeah, just about.
to 25,000 people. And every one that I've gotten, which is not a ton, it's probably 15, every single one of them has been written directly to me. When I say that, maybe it says Dear Walker, I don't know if it does or not, but each of the messages is written as if it were for me, and it speaks to me about something I'm dealing with. And that's an art, from the headline all the way down. How did you develop that concept? What is that, and how did you develop it?
The easiest way to explain this is with 2 words: pain and pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
The whole of marketing comes down to pain and pleasure. It is people want to avoid pain and experience pleasure. And so really, as simple as I can make it, it's getting into the minds, hearts of your perfect client, your perfect fit client, the person that you love working with, and understanding them so deeply that you actually understand them better than they understand themselves, and you can articulate their pains better than they can, and you can articulate the pleasure that they're seeking. And that word pleasure can sometimes, seems like a strange word, right? But that's ultimately what you're doing, is saying,
No, I get it.
what do they want to experience? What do they want to feel? What do they want their lives to look like? And then learning through very, very painful experiments how to communicate that back to them. And not just like, and this is the key too, is like, I've learned that there's a dark side of that. So this is why sometimes marketers, and I'm sure you experience this too, Walker, with sales, we get a bad rap, because you can very easily, once you know how to articulate people's pain and show them how to experience pleasure, you can manipulate them.
Yes.
And I've made that mistake, and you have to be very, very cognizant and respectful and honoring, if that's the right word, honorable in your use of both pain and pleasure as a tool, because ultimately you're not helping people get what you want, you're helping people get what they want.
Yes.
And if you can drive down and help them, articulate, why am I feeling so much pain around this, and then give them a way out, they'll follow you around forever. I have people on my list who've been there for 10 years, and they say the exact same thing that you just said.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Years ago, I went to the Buckley School of Public Speaking, which is one of my favorite experiences. It's run by Reed Buckley, William F. Buckley's brother. And they train people how to be better public speakers. And it was one of the first things I invested in myself. And it was awesome and exposed me to all these things. And you get a diploma when you finish. And it says, I don't remember the quote. I don't remember who it was, probably Winston Churchill or Einstein. They honor all quotes from them. But one said that, please use this power that we have taught you or given you for good and not for evil, because it can be turned around. And I feel the same way about the sales process that I teach. I think, part of everybody, I think life and interactions are full of manipulations. Manipulations aren't all bad. I want my quarterback to fool the defense, right, when they're coming in. I want that to happen. And, I want a lawyer to plead my case in a way that I win. And I think that I agree with you with the honorable intention and the intention of helping people and speaking directly to them for good. And I think that's a super powerful, it's a good way to believe. And it's the way to do, I believe.
Well, in sales, okay, so let's put this in your arena. In sales, the one thing, as I've just been getting to know you, the one thing that I can see very clearly is that you love helping people weed out the folks who will never turn into business.
Correct.
And that to me is the essence of a skilled salesperson, because what you can do, if you know what buttons to push, if you know what levers to pull, you can, and I've done this, you can manipulate people into a sale that's not in their best interest.
100%.
And so marketing works the exact same way. And really all we're trying to do, and I believe the value and the power in marketing is helping people get to the decision that is best for them, helping people get to that decision faster.
100,000%. I agree with you. And that to me is people come to me to get better at sales. And I said, the funniest thing is what will really happen is you'll get better at disqualifying people that aren't going to buy from you.
Yes.
And not wasting time, not wasting those people's time and moving on. I tell people no every single day. And that is the right answer. Yep. Damn near every time.
Yep. So marketing is the 1-2 punch. Marketing leads into sales. And so there's definite elements of that in the approach that we take through the digital ecosystem.
So who's an ideal prospect for you?
That's a great question. We've been working on this a lot, because what I've seen anyway throughout the years, and just kind of give you a brief history and kind of the evolution of our brand. Think Digital started out as an education company. So we did a lot of courses. And then what we found was that a lot of people got into our courses and they say, hey, this guy really knows what he's talking about, but I don't want to do that stuff.
Right.
Like, I don't want to do it for myself. I don't want to go and write Facebook ads or write emails or write social media content or create YouTube videos. I don't want to do any of that stuff. So, hey, Justin, can you and your team just do it for me? And that's what led to our agency, which is where we've been parked, I would say, for the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I've just started to notice a shift in the marketplace where, like, the folks who should be hiring agencies, that gap gets bigger and wider as the years go by. And what I mean by that is, if you are, like right now, all of our agency clients are mid to high 7 figures or more per year. That's
what they pay you?
Well, no, that's what they're earning. That's what their annual revenue is.
I'm kidding you. Yeah. They should be, but yeah.
Well, I mean, that's truthfully how the economics, that's the only way the economics can work.
Yeah.
And so this goes back to the sales conversation we were just having. I started to see more and more, like, the people that I began to talk to and speak to on the phone, they would want us to do their ads and paid traffic, because that's all we do now is lead generation in our agency. They'd want us to do it for them, and we could do a great job, but our agency fees just it wouldn't make sense for them to pay that and still turn a profit on their product or service.
Right.
And so now what I'm finding is that we're moving back into the education side of things. We still have private clients, and that's great, but that is becoming a much smaller component of our business as we look at saying, okay, we know better than just about anybody how to run profitable ad campaigns and really how to build an ecosystem for a client, because that's essentially what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So instead of actually doing it for people, we'll still do that, but that criteria, gets smaller and smaller as the years go by. Instead of doing it for people, we'll still do that. But what if we start teaching people our method? What if we start teaching people our methodology, showing people step by step how they can do this for themselves? And so as it stands now, our ideal clients, leaving the agency side out of this, the ideal client is someone who is, mid to high 6 figures, wants to butt into that 7-figure range or add a second 7 figures to their business. And they have a product or service that is priced at or around $500, preferably higher. If they have recurring revenue, that's even better. We really like working with high ticket service providers, because we find that once we teach them our system, they can rock it on their own or with a VA and pull in those clients consistently that they need. Usually they're online based. There's a strong online component to their business, particularly in the lead gen aspect of it. Doesn't mean that they only have to do lead gen online, but that's typically where we're going to find our sweet spot.
Really interesting. So do you have, my audience, what I try and show each time is that there's some actionable information that the guests can share, something that they can take away, something the WBS sales team can take and put to use. Tell me, drop a nugget or two or three on me here of something that people can take and go and put to use, Justin.
The biggest, I guess, takeaway or practical application that I'd want listeners to walk away and do immediately is start asking a crap load of questions of your target audience. If you follow me on Twitter, I probably put out, I probably put out half a dozen polls per week.
Wow.
Sometimes more, sometimes less, because I always, and I ask my one of the things that I encourage the people who, after they apply to be on my email list, is I encourage them to interact with me, to reply, to respond, to have a conversation. It's actually me, in most cases, responding to these emails. And there's a reason why I do that. Certainly, I want to build a relationship. I want to establish trust. But most importantly, same reason why I do the polls on Twitter, same reason why I do polls on Facebook, is because I want to get in the minds and the hearts of the people on my list, of the people in my audience. Because, and this took me so long to figure out, the reason why is because I need to shape and mold my expertise. I need to shape it in a way that they can receive it, or shine it through their lens so they can pick it up. Put it, my wife and I was, sometimes I'll have to say to my wife, hey, can you translate this? Because we're talking to our kids, and they'll ask like, hey, my daughter the other day, she's like, where does God live? And I was like, oh man. So
how much time do you have?
Yeah, exactly. So I said my answer, and my daughter, she just looked at me with like, what in the world did you just say? So I'll say to my wife, hey, can you translate this for me, please? My wife's so good at that because I'm still in like pastor mode, right? She's so good at putting it in a very tangible way for our 7-year-old. And I find that.
Okay, I'm dying to know. You can't just walk away and say, how did your wife translate that?
Well, if you really want to know,
I do.
The actual answer that she gave was, well, God lives in our hearts.
Okay, so can I add a follow-up to that?
Yes.
That is what we told our son as well. He was about 5, right? And we were riding to church one day, and he said, hey, Dad. And I said, yeah. He said, if God and Jesus live in our hearts, what happens if you have heart surgery?
They're still
like,
there, buddy.
I was like, man, he just moves over to the side a little bit. It's okay.
Yeah.
So you're asking a ton of questions. You want to have interaction with your audience. I totally get that. And I want to go back to something too. You said for people who apply to my email list.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. You knocked me over because I said, I want to be on his email list. I had to jump through like 9 hoops. I had to answer a bunch of questions. I had to say my height, my weight, and, did I like you asked me what's your favorite bourbon, and if I passed that test. Anyway,
yeah.
I'm making that up. But it really was. I just answer about 8 or 9 questions. It took me 5 freaking minutes to sign up for your email list.
Yeah. Which
I loved. I think it's friggin' brilliant because people put a little bit of effort in, they'll pay more attention coming out.
Totally. And that's ultimately what it came down to. And I learned this strategy from another Justin, a guy named Justin Goff. And I've since just modeled and molded it to kind of fit my own audience. But I want to make sure I give credits where credit's due. And I love the strategy so much because, think of how many people are just pimping out their email lists all day, every day.
Yeah.
And you can just get on with no friction. And I find that friction here and now in 2000, as we're recording this in late 2019, friction is your best friend as a business owner.
Love
friction into your marketing, put friction into your sales. And the trick is, you don't want to have, it's like Goldilocks. You don't want to have too much, but you don't want to have too little. And I find that people, when you put friction in place, so the reason why I do the email application, and 9 times out of 10, sometimes Bobby will forward an application to me because Bobby, my assistant, she handles all that. She'll forward an application and say, hey, what do you want to do with this? And the ones that she forwards me are the ones where I can tell people, they're not taking time. It takes on average, and we measure this, it takes people about 3 to 4 minutes to finish the application.
I'm kind of slow, so it took me 5.
I'm
kind of slow, so it took me 5.
Well, you're right in the range. And she'll forward me the ones where it's like people will blow through the application. They won't take it serious. They won't answer it. And we don't approve those. And the reason why, it's not because like I've had people accuse me, oh, you're just doing this to stroke your ego, or some people will get like really pissed off at me for having this application. They get really, really mad. And I'm like, perfect. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Because if you can't take the time, 3 to 5 minutes, okay? We're talking 3 to 5 minutes. If you can't take the time to tell me a little bit about you and what you want to get out of this, what are the chances that you're going to actually read the content that I send you? Slim to none. So let's just end this right here and be done with it. And I have found, I've been so pleasantly surprised. We've been doing this now for about, I would say 90 days. So it's enough data now where I can look back and say, was this a success or was it not? It has been a massive success. What I'll tell you is that the volume of the people joining our list has dropped way down. Maybe 1 application per day tops. However, what I see on the other side of this is increased participation, increased engagement, increase in click-through rates, increase in open rates. It has brought people like you, Walker, into our sales process. And a guy like you is exactly the type of person that I want to be working with, where you care about your business, you're willing to invest in your business, and you actually read what it is that we're sending.
Oh, yeah.
Because this content, like, these aren't throwaway posts. These aren't throwaway garbage emails. It takes time. It takes energy. It takes effort to write this stuff. So it has been a huge, now I'm not advocating that everybody do that, but it is, what I would advocate is look at the places in your marketing and sales process where you can put in some friction, put in just a few quick barriers that's going to weed out the bad fits.
Son, you are singing my song. I'm all about we're not the right fit for everybody and probably not the right fit for you. And that there's got to be, there are a million reasons why somebody should not hire me. And we've got to find the one between us that there is a solid enough reason they're willing to come and participate and change and really are committed. Because if they're not committed to doing better and I take their money and then somebody says, hey, how was working with Walker McKay? They're going to say nothing changed. Right. And then I look like a damn fool. And that's not and it's no fun for me. I don't want people that don't give a shit.
Yep.
I want people that it matters deeply that their business grows. And I have all kinds of friction in my sales process. I haven't used that word before, but I'm going to start. Can I tell you, Justin, a few things that I've learned today? And by the way, you're a great guest. Thank you so much. You've shared some awesome stuff. I love the concept of the digital ecosystem. I love that it takes all those things, the sun and the water and the soil and the fertilizer and all that kind of stuff. I got plenty of fertilizer, by the way. I also love that in your newsletters, you're talking about, and it's stuff that I talk to people about too, is the pain that you're experiencing now, and then what really good, what you would aspire to. And that's in your writing. And as you said that to me, I was like, oh, hell yeah, that's exactly what it is. And then the last thing is what I just said, which is friction. Friction in the sales process, friction in marketing is your friend. You are not because I've noticed myself, because what you said was, and the thing was, I'm going to send you an email 5 to 6 days a week. If you don't plan on reading all those, don't sign up. No. And I was like, holy shit, that's so transparent, so honest, full of integrity. all the things that I espouse in my program as well. So Justin, I got to tell you, this super, super interview. I appreciate you very much. How would people get in touch with you or get on your email list, or what's some way that they can learn more about Justin?
Easiest place, justintalks.com. justintalks.com.
Okay. Go to the website. Check it out.
Yeah.
Sign up set aside 5 minutes, sign up for his newsletter. I think you'll enjoy it just like I do. Justin, thank you.
You bet,
You're a
man.
great guest. I appreciate you. No BS sales team, I love you. I appreciate your listening. Share this episode to anybody who needs to hear it. And please, if you would, rate and review, because that helps get us up higher, gives us more people. You know, my goal is to help 50% of salespeople be better. The 50% of salespeople in the world already pretty good. I want them to be better. They got to know about what we're doing here and what Justin's doing here so that they can be better and raise their game, be less annoying for a lot of us. I appreciate you very much. Thank you, Justin. You're the man.
You bet.